Billy, you know something. What is it?
I'm scared, Poncho.
Bullshit. You ain't afraid of no man.
There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man. We're all gonna die.
Go! Run! Get to the chopper!
I don't remember it going quite like that, but there's a bit in between. But anyway.
Welcome everybody to another episode. We are talking about Predator. That's it.
That's it.
That's pretty much it. Oh God, I hope you guys
Nothing
enjoyed this
quintessential
episode.
to actually the movie films.
Well, this movie's so quotable, you know?
Oh God, is it?
Oh my God. And I don't know. I don't know why we haven't done this one before. It's such an iconic movie, but and so much
We're
fun.
just waiting to get to the chopper.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
so-
hit, man. You're bleeding. I ain't got time to bleed. You got time to duck?
I was showing Robert, actually. I was doing some fan art for it.
Oh, cool.
Oh, get closer to the camera. Let's see. And yeah, they're awesome.
Ooh.
Awesome. So for all of you who are listening to the show, you might want to wait for the YouTube to be uploaded and you get to see Captain Chaos art.
And I was actually... I actually thankful of it because I was having an artist block, so I wasn't being able to draw anything. I'll start watching this movie and it just came out. So I was like, oh, nice. It feels good.
Nice. Awesome.
It's alive.
So before we get into anything else, let's start with our first segment.
Define science fiction remnant.
And you know, if you have listened to the show long enough, you know this is a part of the show where you could get to be featured. So there's two ways to do that. You could actually tweet at us or call our hotline. The hotline is 1-305-563-6334. And let us know, how do you define us to someone that has not heard us and loves sci-fi as much as we do? So we have one for today, and this comes from our good friend Steve Horizon Brave. The hashtag on Twitter is MyGhostWorld, where he says, and I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about this comment. It says, it's a cubicle water cooler talk that you have when you know your boss is long gone and you can't lose the tie. Close
Oh,
the
yeah.
spreadsheet
I love that
for the
description.
day and just get stuck in talking about your favorite shows, books, and movies. And that's a reference to an office worker there, which I'm very familiar with.
Me too. I love it. Those are the best moments in the office, man. They are fucked up when the boss or the supervisor goes, hey, get to work. It's like,
Back,
shit, bro.
back to the cubicle.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is awesome. This is how Science Fiction Remnant would have been if we were actually recording from the office.
Yep.
You just hit the
Making podcasts on
noise
FaceTime.
of the water dispenser. That's about it.
Hey, for any manager that is looking down on us, it's better than pooping on the clock.
That's Robert's job.
Oh wow. Yeah, there's an inside joke there.
Oh,
So, yeah.
trust me, Robert can't do that. He can't afford to do it. He will be searched in the bathroom. That's how indispensable he is at his workplace.
Oh God. But yeah, Steve, thank you so much. Not only for this comment, which is very poignant, it's on point, but also for your engagement with the show. We really appreciate it.
Much appreciated.
And that should take us to the next segment. We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is Sci-Fi.
And this segment, we basically feature the hashtag This is Sci-Fi. And it's a hashtag where we can get together as sci-fi fans and just geek out about what we love individually. And that is a cool thing that I feel about the hashtag is that you could basically just love one thing, just one thing. And you share that love to that one thing. And we have other people doing the same. You have one thing you love and you share, and we all enjoy from everybody else. And that's one of the cool things that I find about the hashtags so far. The talk, the interaction. I want to talk about one in particular that happened today. That I wanted to do basically is one of the questions that we had asked in many of the previous shows concerning our love to sci-fi. And
It's not concerning hobbits.
well, maybe for you, but maybe for Captain Chaos is covering hobbits. But this one is I basically ask a question that I ask in most of the shows that we do, and you're familiar with it. So basically, it started with saying Sunday Sci-Fi Reflection. What is the first thing you saw that you credited for getting you into science fiction, and how old were you? I go first. I was 6 years old when I saw Logan's Run. This is sci-fi, and that's the entire message. And I'm really pleased to see the engagement and the interaction, full of nostalgia. And I really thank everybody involved in that conversation because I'm loving it. I mean, there's
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
there you go. There is conversations about what we, each one of you found to be the one thing that they made them a sci-fi lover in the years. Like, for example, there's one here that I can say this person was 3 years old. And that I find that so fascinating because at that age, granted, you don't remember most of the stuff that you're watching, but there's an impression. There's a huge impression, especially on Star Wars, when you see Darth Vader, this huge figure on this huge screen, and it causes an impression. And I love this about um, the having those kind of experiences because you watch that um, later in life, and it's just part of you. It's and you have a different experience as you grow older of the same experience. So you are experiencing multiple things across your lifespan. Um, what do you guys think about that? I don't know if you guys have had time to go um, that thread, but it's amazing to see the conversations that I see on this thread about what made us the sci-fi lover that we are today. Gio,
Honestly,
I think we talked behind the camera, but can you say what really got you into sci-fi, and how old were you?
I think that one of the first movies, and I think I've said this on previous episodes, is Contact. And I was fairly young. I think Contact was in 1986,
Um,
97, not more than that, I think. And I was maybe 6 or 7. And it was a movie that I just kept on watching and repeating and repeating. Like I couldn't get my head around it. But to me, filmmaking on a whole and sci-fi revolves around a lot about that. It cannot be something brainless. It will not capture my attention. And sci-fi always is brainy. It has so much more going beneath the scenes. So that's one of the things that always kept me as a sci-fi lover, unknowingly of it, because until we started like talking about and watching a lot of movies, Robert and I, we did not realize that I was a sci-fi lover, really.
yeah.
But But when you come to think of all the movies that I watch, it's like I don't watch something much more than that.
Yeah, brainy stuff.
Hmm.
And would I be wrong in saying that maybe it would be Star Wars for you, Ray?
No, Star Wars was way later, man.
Oh, okay.
So I think now it's really hard to remember because it was a long time ago, but I think it was 1973. I
Oh, Star Trek
was
animated series.
I was on holidays with my parents, as you do when you're 3. You don't really go on holidays with anyone else. But we'd gone to an unusual place that year. It was a town on the north coast, New South Wales, called Port Macquarie. And I have, you know, when you have, it's almost like, it's not proper memories, it's like photographs, like stills, because your memory was so young that you couldn't, like, it wasn't a movie, it was stills.
Blurry.
Yes.
No, it wasn't that blurry, it's just stills
It's
rather
just
than moving pictures. But I remember we stayed in an apartment building, which was unusual because we usually stayed in like villas or, you know, low to the ground stuff because my parents had 2 small kids at the time. But we stayed in this apartment building. And I thought, oh my God, this is so high, because I don't think I'd ever been in a building that high before. And I remember coming off the balcony, because it was an open staircase. And then you go up to the room. It was like a motel, but it was like 7 or 8 stories high, which was completely new to me. I remember going inside the room, and my mother turned the TV on, and there was the Thunderbirds was on, and I was completely enamored with
nice.
Thunderbirds are go, and then the whole.
I love that show.
Don't tell me you
and
try to jump off the roof or something.
I'm pretty sure the same that that was probably in September of 73, and I think also in the same year I'd seen a couple of part episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series on Saturday afternoon television, and it was a bit slower than Thunderbirds, so I wasn't that interested in it. But I still remember the ship flying around and Mr. Spock and stuff like that. But I don't remember any of the details of that. But I do remember the Thunderbirds because they were weird, man. They were this whole janky arms bobbing up and down thing. But you know, all the rocket ships and international rescue and everything was just amazing, and I remember that vividly. It's stuck in my head. Oh yeah, that's the guys.
Yeah, if you guys are watching the YouTube stream, you could see. I actually put a picture of the Thunderbirds, mainly for Geo, because I'm sure he hasn't seen it.
No.
That
Looks
show was
creepy.
really good.
Looks creepy. Looks creepy.
Well, there's marionettes, and you could see the string. You could actually see the strings when they were walking.
And the lady Penelope Clayton Ward in that car that she used to drive around in.
Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Oh, run! Get to the chopper! Just to bring us back.
Nice. Yeah.
That's gonna be the re-railing quote.
Yes.
Awesome, man. You bring back memories. I remember watching the show on TV. Yeah, I was that young. I was 3 years old. So it
Well, it was
really
65, so it's older than I am.
Huh?
It was originally 65, so it's older than I am.
When wasn't it 73?
No, Thunderbirds was 1965.
Because I saw it when I was really young. I can barely.
I'll tell you, I actually got to watch something as a kid that somebody that is older than you guys told me it was from your time. Stuff made out of fluff.
Which one?
Stuff made out of fluff. They used to call it on my time the banana splits, and it was like some guys dressed up as animals.
Oh, I love the
like
banana split. But it's not sci-fi unless you count.
No, it's not sci-fi, but it was like in my time, like I used to watch things that were older than my time, like what is considered in Cartoon Network now Boomerang. It wasn't a Boomerang back then. It was just Cartoon Network, like Huckleberry Hound,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Flintstones, the Jetsons. That was just Cartoon Network back then.
I
And then
remember
it
Filmation.
evolved. Whatever.
I remember Filmation.
Filmation.
Is it sad that I can sing most of the intro songs to those shows, but I can't remember what I did last week?
It's not, man.
Oh, wow. Well, Gio, I think you should get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper.
Well, the Jetsons was sci-fi. I mean, that was pretty early on.
Jetsons was
Shout
sci-fi.
out.
Oh, that's true. Shout outs. Shout outs. Well, let's get on with it. The shout out of this episode. I'm being pushed into shout outs.
Somebody threw you back on the rails, man.
It's like in
Oh,
the cam-
it's like get to the chopper and like not falling into it. And I'm going to the chopper.
Oh, it's like you're in the Academy Awards and they're playing the music so you can shut up.
Okay, moving on. Well, for these shout outs, we're gonna have a special thank you to Movie Psycho, and his handle is Psycho Movie. Big Nick J, Pixie, her handle is Next on Stage One. Ely Zimmerman, love his engagement all the time, man.
Yeah, and his history, sci-fi-history.net.
Yeah. Also, Tom meets interesting people. Well, I guess that he got to do that. He met us.
Yeah.
But and last but not least, Steve Horizon Brave, which we actually mentioned in his engagement with us recently. With the he left us a message. Thank you so much, man, for the continued support. And I mean, we hope that we can continue to give us great content, enjoy it, and we hope that you guys, all our audience, continue to enjoy it as well.
And you guys, you should feel jealous. He's in the Discord.
Oh yeah, you should all join us, and let me not forget to mention that we are actually proud members of the Blind Knowledge Network. Everybody that is listening right now, go ahead, give it a pause, and go and check them out. Go to blindnetwork.com. They have a great array of content creators. So whatever is your preference or likes, I'm sure that you're gonna find something that you enjoy there. Go and check them out, and we continue with our next segments.
Okay, so here we go.
The Outer Remnant.
Who's got something for this one?
Get to the chopper.
Get to the elite army.
Yes, basically.
Get
Have
to
you
Radio
guys been
Chaos.
anywhere this week?
Get to
Oh,
Radio
yeah.
Chaos.
Not me.
Yes. Mm.
Well,
Oh,
you know
well.
what? Before we move on, I just want to mention we are doing, and you probably have noticed this by now. If you listen to our feed, all of a sudden you see the crossover. It's going to be a crossover show. And basically, the idea is to feature other podcasts that we have listened to, that we enjoy, that we think you might enjoy. So you might start seeing some in our feed where I believe if you look at our feed, the last one that we have posted was for the FSF podcast. So you're gonna start seeing these on our feed, and I just want to make sure and feature and talk of and let you know about it, because all those podcasts, we're actually just kind of posting each other's content to see if if we like the content, probably you would like the content as well. Just want to mention that we have been so far in the FSF podcast feature. And we recently are in the Scarif podcast featuring our Kenobi episode. So just so you guys know, just another way that we can enjoy each other's content. There you go.
There's
you
lots
go.
of good content
There
out
you
there.
go. There you go.
Speaking of which, segue. Episode 149 of Radio Chaos happened just recently. We've gone back to the source material. That's Alita Battle Angel Alita manga, or Gumu in Japan. Volume 4, Chapter 2, Red Zone, Race 2, Fight Like the Wind. Basically, at the end of the last chapter, Alita had gone down against Crimson Wind, Zaphael Taki, the character's name is, had beaten her and taken the motorball off her, and so she was all beaten up, and she had to turn it around and get back out there and get a little bit of revenge. So she got to the chopper and got things sorted out there, and yeah, it's a short chapter, but it's a good chapter. You see Alita take down Zaphael, but she doesn't win the race. In fact, a joke character, Teagle, who's this massive cyborg that trundles along very slowly, he actually ended up winning the race on accident when he picked up the motorball 50 meters from the finish line when it had gone off the track. So when the motorball goes off the track, it gets reset 50 meters from the finish line, and he happened to be going past the time, went, oh, the motorball grab, and he trundled across the line and won the race, and the crowd just rioted because nobody had bet on him because there's no way he could win a race.
That's a humiliating way to lose, right? By accident.
Yeah. Oh, it was not a popular finish, but yeah, it was a good chapter. So we covered that, and we were talking a lot in the news section about lots of people coming back to the Elite Army and getting all excited, having heard what the creatives have been saying recently, and we're all waiting with bated breath to hear what happens next, because Avatar has nearly hit 2 billion. Avatar 2, Way of Water. So we're hoping that there'll be some news soon about an Alita sequel. Now that James Cameron has paid back some of that money he owes Disney.
Nice. I don't know about you guys, but I am freaking excited. I just can't wait.
Oh,
and as
yeah.
I said in a previous episode, that actually is my entire family.
Sure.
Got my parents as well. So yeah. So, ooh, nice.
Ooh, nice. Love
Nice.
the duck face.
Yeah. Octopus lips.
Okay. So, what is this show about again?
About getting to the
Get to
chopper.
If it bleeds, we can eat it. Kill it.
Woman, what did you see?
Hey, we eat it too because women bleed.
What?
But okay,
What?
moving on.
Okay, no comments. Next.
Spicy. Someone threw in a whole bucket of spice just then.
Things that everybody
No.
do, but nobody talks about.
Not gonna get in there. Oh wow. So I guess we have a plot, do we?
We do have a plot.
Maybe.
Maybe. No, I have a plot. There's a plot. There's actually a plot here. So, Predator was in 1987. Thank you. Predator was in 1987. Its budget was around $18 million, and the box office was pushing $100 million. So it did all right, 5 times its budget, which means it was financially a success. And that, of course, led to a whole bunch of follow-ups, and there was novels and comic books and games and toys. So it did pretty well. Predator 2 in 1990, Predators in 2010, The Predator in 2018, and Prey in 2022. So
Alien versus Predator. We have Prey.
Oh yeah, I mentioned Prey, but there was also the 2 Alien versus Predator movies, 2004 and 2007. So lots of other outings to check up on. But for this one, an alien spacecraft deploys a shuttle to Earth, where Vietnam War veteran Major Alan Dutch Schaefer and his military rescue team, consisting of Mac, Poncho, Blaine, Billy, and Hawkins, are tasked with rescuing a foreign cabinet minister and his aide from the insurgents in an unspecified South American country. CIA officer Al Dillon, Vietnam War buddy of Dutch's, is assigned to accompany the team over Dutch's objections. En route, the team discovers the wreckage of a helicopter and 3 skinned corpses. Dutch identifies them as Green Berets that he knew and becomes suspicious of Dylan's intentions. The team reaches the guerrilla camp and witnesses the execution of a hostage. They mount an attack, killing most of the rebels and several Soviet intelligence officers. Dutch confronts Dylan, who reveals that their true mission was to stop a planned Soviet-backed invasion and that the CIA sent the Green Berets weeks earlier for the same mission. The only surviving guerrilla, Anna, is captured. Learning that more rebels are coming, the team chooses to trek to the extraction point back over the border. They are followed by an entity employing a cloaking device and thermal imaging technology. But a spooked Billy glimpses it while Anna attempts to escape. Hawkins catches her, but then the creature attacks and kills him while sparing Anna. Dutch organizes the search party, but Blaine is killed by the creature's plasma weapon. Enraged, Mac provokes everyone to blindly fire their weapons into the jungle, unknowingly wounding the creature. As the creature administers first aid, the commandos regroup and realize that they are being hunted. Dylan believes 2 or 3 guerrillas are responsible, but Billy is adamant that their pursuer is not human. Smart man. They make camp for the night and set traps, which are triggered by a wild boar. In the confusion, Mac kills it and the creature steals Blaine's body. Dutch later realizes that their enemy uses the trees to travel and frees Anna, who states that her people had seen similarly mutilated bodies before. The next day, the group constructs a net trap and captures the creature, but it frees itself and Poncho is injured. Mac and Dylan pursue it, but are outmaneuvered and killed. As the survivors flee, Billy stays behind to fight the creature. Well, he was smart until he did that.
Yeah.
The creature kills Billy before following the survivors and killing Poncho. Realizing it does not attack unarmed individuals, Dutch tells the unarmed Anna to head to the extraction point. Dutch attempts to distract the creature by fleeing, but it follows him. Dutch attempts to distract the creature by fleeing, but is followed to a muddy riverbank and covered in mud. So Dutch gets covered in mud. That's a very bad sentence. The creature fails to see him and leaves the collected trophies from the others. Dutch realizes that the cool mud providing a camouflage to his body heat. He crafts makeshift traps and weapons and lures the creature out at night with a war cry and a torch. Dutch lightly injures the creature and disables its cloaking device, but the creature files wildly into the forest and tries to escape. Dutch tries to escape and accidentally falls in the river, where the water dissolves his muddy camouflage. As the creature corners Dutch, it removes its mask and plasma cannon to fight him in hand-to-hand combat, having deemed him a worthy opponent. Despite being overpowered and outsmarted, Dutch attempts to goad the creature into a booby trap. It goes around, but Dutch triggers the trap anyway, crushing the creature with the trap's counterweight. With the alien mortally wounded, he asks, "What the hell are you?" "What the hell are you?" The creature repeats the question back to Dutch and activates its self-destruct device, maniacally laughing as it counts down. How would you be getting laughed at by an alien in your dead friend's voice?
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yep.
Realizing what it has done, Dutch runs for cover and survives the explosion, somehow looking cool. He's then rescued by the extraction helicopter with Anna already safely aboard, though he is left traumatized by the experience. No shit, Sherlock. Because he's traumatized.
That's the understatement of the year.
Exactly. Credits roll while Dutch is like 1,000 feet stare. Oh, fuck. That just goes through. He was also bleeding from his ears and his mouth.
Sitting in that chopper thinking, chopper.
I should have gotten in that chopper.
I should have gotten in that chopper.
He's leaning there going, "I got to the chopper."
I did it.
Yeah.
We are really going to kill that quote.
Oh, yeah, it's dead. It's so dead.
It's doomed to happen.
Oh, my God. Yeah. This movie is so iconic. Oh my god.
It is so full of testosterone. It's like leaking out of its pores. Those jokes, those sexist jokes. Oh man.
Yes. There's one thing that I was talking to Gio. We're actually watching the movie together, and I just have to say, Dutch is one lucky mofo.
Motherfucker.
Because let me explain that.
Sure, he's not an ugly motherfucker.
That's predatory.
Well, that's Predator. You're mixing your. But here's the reason why I said, he's looking cool and is old macho and all this stuff here. But if you remember throughout the movie, he just happened to fall through into a river, through a I forgot the name of this thing now. Cascade,
Waterfall.
waterfall, into the mud, and then being alive after all this happened, the alien is actually following. He looks at him and he's covered in mud, and that's when he realized, oh, he cannot see through the mud. What would have happened if that did not happen?
The end of the movie. He didn't get to the chopper.
Did.
So if you think about it,
He was literally bracing himself on the roof, like, I'm ready for you, daddy. Literally.
Well, yeah, he was being George of the Jungle there in some scenes.
Yeah.
So I found something very interesting, and I don't know if you guys, most likely you guys don't realize it because of the way I think, but
I think we know how you think now. This is going to be some really weird connection you've made, and we're like, huh?
Okay, so you guys know, and I don't know if Gio knows. I think he might know this, but as a species, we are blind. Have you really thought about that? I don't know if you have, Ray or Gio, but we are kind of blind.
Our perceptory senses are not adapted to our environmental needs. So our sense of smell is blind compared to a dog, for example.
Well, I want to specify. I want to
And at night,
narrow
we
it
cannot see
down
shit.
to our. I want to narrow it down to our eyes.
That's an that's an evolutionary perk, basically.
Exactly. So, if you look at the entire light spectrum, what we can see with our eyes is very small.
Yeah.
It's really, really small, and that's why I'm saying, as a species, we are technically blind.
But if you think about it, you compare us to dogs, for example, we are not blind. We're actually falcons, because dog can see shit compared to us. But equally to dogs, we have other senses that make up for those things. Like we have the hearing sensory perception, we have smell perception that is adjusted to our evolutionary needs.
Yeah. So let me talk about, for example, one side of the spectrum, which is the one that I feel it was displayed in this movie. It is the infrared side. This is what we would need to detect, or I think this is how they make the heat sensing. I want to say cameras. I'm sure they have a name for it. But
POV?
those are the cameras that you use to view the heat and the heat profile in an image, and it looks really interesting because
infrared.
yeah, the infrared, because when you look at an image through that lens, anything that is, it's kind of like a gradient that goes from red to blue. So blue obviously is cold, and red is hot. So if you look at a flame, for example, through those cameras, you'll see the flame profile of that image will be bright red, while everything around it would be a gradient all the way to the blue, which is
I think it actually
completely.
goes to white.
It goes to white.
Yeah, it goes past red to white.
Okay.
So red is warm and white is hot.
Hot.
If you get my very generalized description. Yeah. So black is completely cold. Blue is quite cold, and then it goes through to red, which is quite warm, and then white, which is like you get a whiteout of heat. Like from a fire, the middle of the fire would be white.
Yes. So where I'm going with this is we have animals that can see infrared. Humans cannot see infrared.
We had
And of
animals
course,
that use sonar.
you have snakes, you have blood-sucking insects like mosquitoes, you have fish like salmon, some frogs, the vampire bat, the goldfish.
They use sonar.
Are you saying a goldfish is better than us?
That's what I'm saying. When it comes to our
That's
eyes,
why we
we're
keep it on a
blind.
fishbowl.
You know? So where I'm going with this is,
Yeah, where are you getting at? Are you getting
If
to the
you-
chopper?
I'm getting into the chopper. If you fast forward to the scene where he takes his helmet off, and again, this is just me thinking. That I don't remember reading this anywhere.
Technology. It was the technology because there was a
No.
different view
When he
took off.
takes his helmet off, you remember, and I don't know if you do, that everything looked red.
Yeah, everything.
So that leads, if I take this the way that I see it, this being can see in the infrared spectrum.
To me,
But what I find,
it was more like a sonar view compared to infrared. That was a heat sensory that he had before.
well, here's the thing. Here's why I think is infrared, right? Everything looks red, right? So you see the images obviously show up. But when he has his helmet on, the images we see are very, very similar to the images you would see on an infrared camera. So it seems to me that for him to be able to see in this environment, he had to, I don't think he could actually see in the visible light. So he had to have this device on his eyes that would go down the spectrum from where he's at
Riddick.
to the kind of like to the visible light, ultraviolet.
Riddick, ultra, and pitch black.
Was that ultraviolet?
Well, he
I
cannot
don't-
see. He cannot see the regular light. He used to use the goggles because he will be blind on regular light. So he had to dim it down. But in pitch black, he could see perfectly, just like the animals, and they could see it through sonar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I think
they had that sonar vision. So basically, the way I looked at it was, human beings have a visible light spectrum eyesight, which is of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's a very, very small part, but it's a very common part. So that's why we evolved to be able to see in that area. But of course, if we were predominantly night creatures, we might have developed more in the thermal range. But basically, the Predator's vision when he had his helmet off was quite limited, and he actually used the helmet to expand his visual range so he could see colder temperatures and get more of a sort of a gradient, spread the image more, because he seemed to be quite blind once he had that helmet off. Now, they stated that only in the years when it got really hot did the predators show up. So for some reason, they liked heat. Like, they liked it to be quite warm. Now, whether they were ectothermic, which meant that they needed warm weather to be able to move around fast because they didn't produce a whole lot of their own body heat, hard to say. But basically, just like humans, who, if we want to see in the infrared or ultraviolet, we need goggles to expand our vision. He was using that helmet to do exactly the same thing. He was expanding his vision and making it clearer for what he could see. And I know that I'm reaching into the second movie, but in the second movie, the Predator had different vision modes that he could flip through until he could find the guys who were wearing the suits that were cutting out that the thermal leaving their bodies. There was one other thing that it was a bit dodgy about this whole mud blocking the temperature thing. Point one, they state in the wiki page that it was the wet mud that was blocking the temperature, but the mud had dried on Dutch's body when he was running around. So how was the moisture blocking the heat at that stage? When he was running around, he was producing even more heat, unlike when it just climbed out of the water, which had dropped his skin temperature. Yes. And the mud was blocking it. And the other thing is, if you look at that section where the Predator's picked him up and is looking at his face, turning him, like grabbed his head and turning it back and forth, looking at him, deciding that he's a worthy adversary. His eyes are the hottest part of his face. And there was no mud over his eyeballs when he was running around. So even if you couldn't see the heat radiating from his skin, you would have seen these two glowy eyes running around. So there was a huge logical gap there about the mud doing its thing. Now, if every time the Predator looked at him, he closed his eyes and he had mud in his eyelids, I could almost believe it. But this whole, the wet mud was blocking the heat from his body. Well, it had dried well and truly when he was running around, so it wouldn't have been working. But anyway.
Yeah, no, and you brought out a really good point. I wonder what would be the experience from the Predator perspective if it was like on winter, full of snow.
Well, they don't go to really cold places. They only show up when it's really hot. Predator 2, it's a really hot year in LA when the Predator shows up. So,
and they actually say that he only shows up when it's hot.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I was just thinking if they're obviously an intelligent technological race based on the gadgets that they have. So it is not far-fetched to think they could build, a suit that could withstand the cold. So it's just interesting to me. Maybe they didn't consider that sports because there are hunters all around. And in my perception, I think it would be a lot easier for them to come in like cold weather because everything would be lit up. And it would be easier for them to find.
Oh, you reckon that the targets would be brighter because everything else would be colder?
Yeah. So, but they are hunters. So maybe the reason why they don't do this is because it's not a sport. And for them, the hunt is a sport. As we can see from, what was it? Was it Predator? I want to say Predator 3, but it's not Predator 3.
It's a way of live communication to me.
I'm sorry?
That to me is not merely a sport too. It's just a way of life and communication, It's like going into the Amazons and finding a tribe, and that's how they communicate,
Well, the reason why I'm saying this, and again, I'm going back to other movies for this. I think it was The Predators, or what was the other movie? I can't remember. There's a movie, you probably remember, but it's a movie where they actually got humans and they put these humans in this planet and this human reserve.
That was Predators with the plural.
Predators.
That was Predators. And they were capturing humans and dropping them into a sort of a game reserve and then hunting them down.
And there were a lot of predators in there. So that's the reason, that's where I'm basing myself in, is it seems to me like they do this for sports, as evident from the movie Predator versus Alien, or is it Aliens versus Predator? I can't remember.
Aliens comes first.
Aliens versus Predator. If you remember, if you ever watched that movie, they actually had this. What was it that they call it? The sacrificial room or something, where they had the alien eggs, And the thing is, actually, they were hunting aliens and humans. So in every iteration that we see predators, including Prey, which is the current movie out there, it's all about the hunt.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm basing myself. It's just it wouldn't be a sport, I believe, and that's the case. But it wouldn't be far-fetched for me to think that they would build the suit so they can be in every environment.
Well, was it
Adaptability.
Alien versus Predator Requiem? I think they were in the Antarctic. So
yes, like what was it they say? How many miles below the ice? I forgot what it was. It's been a long time that I haven't seen that movie. Have you seen it, Gio?
Nope.
Oh, okay. It's one of those for your list, for your increasingly long list.
My list is frozen right now.
Right, in the Antarctic ice. We could throw it out and have some aliens and predators fight over it.
Yes. I found that to be really exciting when it came out. Because it's one of those back in the day, you always wonder who would win. And when when the movie came out, it's like, oh, finally, someone's made a movie. So
I think the game came out first, and it was so popular and everybody was screaming for the two franchises to come together. Ever since in Predator 2, when he goes onto the spaceship and sees the alien skull on the trophy wall, it's like they're in the same universe, and I remember that. I remember that so clearly.
Yes.
We were screaming in the cinema, yeah, look, they're in the same universe. Come on, we gotta have an Alien versus Predator movie. And then they made an Alien versus Predator movie. It was really boring. It's like, come on, guys, better than this.
But yeah, I remember. I don't know if you ever seen the game. I used to play that game a lot.
Nope.
And I remember the hype when what Ray was just talking about after we saw that the Predator movie we saw, and then the hype on the news about the movie. So yeah, I still like it, but I do admit it should have been better. So
I think that it's the same hype that when people wanted Freddy versus Jason.
kind of
Kind
like
of the
that,
same
yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing. Gio, how old were you when you saw this movie for the first time?
Maybe like 10 years old.
10 years old?
Yeah, I was terrorized.
I was just gonna say, weren't you freaking scared?
Yeah, off my ass, bro. Shitless.
It's interesting that they sort of pitched it as an action adventure, like a military action adventure, and then it took a hard left turn at Albuquerque and turned into a sci-fi horror.
Oh, man,
it actually reminds me of From Dusk Till Dawn, which shifts gears right in the middle of the movie.
Oh yes, I remember that. I wasn't prepared for that.
I love movies that completely break your expectations. Like, action adventure. Well, hang on, where'd this alien come from?
When I started playing Gears of War, is when this kind of became my kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah, this one, if you look in IMDb, this movie is categorized as action adventure horror. And it's like, this is sci-fi. You know that, right? Where's the sci-fi in here?
Well, I mean, you got an alien. You want more sci-fi than that?
Exactly. I don't know why.
The first 10 seconds of the movie is a spaceship. And
exactly.
It drops off a shuttle or a pod or whatever you want to call it.
So you see Gio?
And I mean, he has Harry Potter cloak, so.
You see Gio? So Harry Potter is sci-fi.
Yep. Hocus pocus.
And so
any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic.
Hey, I am 100% with you, Ray. I agree.
Well, I was watching it, just an aside from that, I was watching an anime the other night called something, it's one of those great long names, but it was in my next life, I want my stats to be completely average. And of course, when they say average, the system which runs the world, because it's actually a technological system, went and looked at the weakest monster, a slime, and the strongest monster, the great arch evil sort of super dragon that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and took a point exactly in the middle, which was 6,800 times stronger than a normal human because of the outliers.
Not so
And
average.
so this girl who was reincarnated, she gets reincarnated, and she can talk. Magic in this world, they specifically state, magic in this world is created by nanites in the air.
Oh wow.
And like she's like there, and the nanites just rock up and go, "Oh hi, how you doing?" Because she's the first person who's been able to talk to them in like hundreds of thousands of years, and they're like chatting away to her, and she's like, okay. And then there's this explanation of, oh yeah, well, most people, have a certain affinity with talking to the nanites and getting them to do things that they want, and that's what they call magic. And she says she's 6,800 times better at it than the average mage. It's like,
wow.
okay.
That is a
But it was
really
really
nice
interesting that
perspective.
they specifically stated the magic in this world is created by nanites.
That is
in the air.
that's a really nice take. I really like that.
I like that.
There was another anime where it didn't come up in the anime, but it came up in the light novels, and that was Outbreak Company, which the magical realm that they were going to through this tunnel, this warp tunnel, actually turned out to be the future of Earth, and technology advanced to the point where there was nanites in the air that you could control and get to do stuff. And then, of course, there was a fall of the technological civilization, but the nanites were still there. And then people started interacting with them, thinking, came up with a way of interacting, which they call magic, because they didn't know what it was that was causing the effect. They just knew that some people could do it. And it was actually nanites in the air, and they didn't know about it. But the humans from our time who went there worked it out, because they got into this subterranean bunker thing, which was left over from the old civilization, and got to talk to somebody whose mind had been transferred into a cyborg body, or an android body.
Mm-hmm.
And then they found out what was actually going on.
Wow.
But having a basis for magic, which is technological, is really a nice little sort of flip-flop storyline or world-building idea, which I quite like. Okay, get to the chopper. We need to get back on the rails. Thank you.
Oh, guys, you guys should be watching the YouTube video. Gio with his get to the chopper little note.
And my makeup, man.
Yeah,
I got
the
mud on my
makeup.
face.
Gio, you should post a picture on Twitter.
I actually who quotes this? Eminem, bro. In Us Like That, he says, "I am Arnold. Get down."
Hang around.
Oh wow. I was 17 when I saw this movie, and it was exciting to me because it was an action film.
17?
Yeah.
Wasn't it 97?
I'm surprised you could stop thinking about girls long enough to actually go see a movie.
Well, what do you think I used Predator for?
Oh.
To predate on girls.
When the Predator will scare people, they would, it's a perfect opportunity.
Although they're sexist jokes, man, that wouldn't have impressed any girl. Now or then.
Yeah, I know. This,
the man. Americans.
So, I even forgot what I was talking about.
The first time you saw Predator,
yeah,
it was with a girl in the movie theater, and she was clinging to you.
I was 17, and this movie was really exciting to me because I felt that I was getting a sci-fi action movie.
And he saw that movie like a Punani gateway.
Oh my god. Ray, how old were you when you saw this movie for the first time?
God, now you're pushing your luck. This was one of those movies that I didn't see at the cinema. It passed me by. It might have been when I was at university, so I didn't have the money to go to the movies, or just wasn't seeing what was coming out of the movies because I was on campus and wasn't looking at that sort of thing at the time. But I do remember we used to have a reprojection screen, but this is back before the big plasma TVs came in. But it was a reprojection screen that was in the function room off the bar at the college of residence I was staying in. I'm pretty sure I saw it there with a bunch of mates on VCR at the time, and it would have been so this was 87, came out in 87, which was my final year of high school. So yeah, I probably saw it on VCR in 89, I'd say. Yeah. And hanging out with my mates, drinking and watching sci-fi, it's pretty damn fun. And for days, get to the chopper. That's all you could hear from my friends.
I still hear that today. So
yeah, they're very, very big on quoting Arnie.
Oh god,
there's some interesting.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's some interesting points on the filming of this, but I might. Gio, you've mentioned when you first saw it, yeah. So I could probably go on with this at this point. But yeah, they were filming this in '86 in Mexico. So apparently both McTiernan and Schwarzenegger lost 25 pounds during the filming. Schwarzenegger's weight loss was a professional choice, while McTiernan lost weight because he avoided the food in Mexico due to health concerns. Unlike McTiernan, most of the cast and crew suffered from Montezuma's revenge, since the Mexican hotel in which they were living had problems with its water purification. In an interview, Carl Weathers said the actors would secretly wake up as early as 3 a.m. to work out before the day's shooting. Weathers also stated that he would act as if his physique was naturally given to him and would work out only after the other actors were nowhere to be seen. According to Schwarzenegger, the filming was demanding. The actor, a former bodybuilder, shipped gym equipment to Mexico and trained intensively every day before the shoot began, usually with his co-stars. Screenwriter Jim Thompson was impressed with the training regimen and said, "I think the phrase manly men was coined during the production of Predator." Among other tasks, Schwarzenegger had to swim in very cold water and spent 3 weeks covered in mud for the climactic battle with the alien. In addition, cast and crew endured very cold temperatures in Mexico jungle that required heat lamps to be on all the time. Cast and crew filmed on rough terrain that, according to the actor, was never flat, always on a hill. We stood all day long on a hill, one leg up, one leg down. It was terrible. Schwarzenegger also faced the challenge of working with Kevin Peter Hill, who could not see in the Predator suit. The actor recalled that when he was supposed to slap me around and stay far from my face, all of a sudden, whap, there was this hand with claws on it. Hall stated in an interview that his experience on the film, it wasn't a movie, it was a survival story for all of us. For example, the scene where the Predator chases Dutch, the water was foul, stagnant, and full of leeches.
Ooh.
Hall could not see out of the mask and had to rehearse the scenes with it off and memorize where everything was. The outfit was difficult to wear because it was heavy and affected his balance. So, I mean, you watch this movie and it looks all seamless and they're heroes and they're running around doing what they need to do in the movie, but they suffered for this one, man. They earned their dollars for this movie.
Wow. Yeah, no, that oh my God.
Yeah.
And this guy was huge.
Yeah.
How I don't even know how.
How do you know he was huge? You gotta put
Can
your
you repeat
sticker. You gotta put your sticker. That's what she said. Come on, get to the
waiting for
chopper.
that sticker. Oh my God.
That's what she said.
The one ugly motherfucker.
It was huge.
Oh wow.
Oh shit! He died at age 35. Kevin Peter Hall, who played the Predator.
Surely not in the
He,
chopper.
he died 4 years after this movie came out. He's 7'2" tall.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
218 centimeters for us in the metric world.
I'd only seen pictures. I never really bothered and look and see how tall he was, but that's tall. Wow.
Why you don't say it again, Robert? He was huge. you gotta use a special voice, Robert, for that. He was huge.
What special voice?
It was huge.
As a chipmunk, yeah. If anything is huge.
That's right. It's all comparative.
I would have to say one of the things that I can recall that impressed me. Maybe that's the wrong word, but maybe the word should be shocked me watching the movie. And we can go around the room and see what was for each of us. For me, knowing that I don't like horror movies, I do watch horror movies when they're heavily involved in sci-fi, evident from Alien and Aliens, and this movie as well.
When are we doing Event Horizon?
Oh yes, we got to do Event Horizon.
I want to do that movie.
The scene, the very first time when we see the skinned soldiers hanging from the tree. Not sure if the experience of the visuals, I like to think that would be very different when you see it in the theaters, and it was huge in your face, and it was bright red. Too late.
Look who's there.
Too late.
Huge in his face.
It's the furry tentacle, man.
The furry tentacle. It was bright red, and it was a little shocking to me too, because it just popped into the screen.
I love every descriptive thing Robert is saying right now because it could be so misleading. It was huge in red.
So, moving on. What did you guys experience the same thing when you saw this scene? I know that you probably didn't see it in the theaters like I did, but
No.
and the experience should have been different. But what was your experience when you saw that scene? I don't know if Gio or Ray, if you even remember.
As a kid, traumatized. Later on, when I rewatch it, it was like just rewatching something in Gears of War. Actually, they actually scare you like that on Gears of War at the beginning of the first game. Yeah. In the movies, I never watch it, but I'm sure that it will make everybody jump on the seat because those fuckers on the film, they actually make those sounds go like louder than anything else. So whenever like it uncovers, like bing, and it just makes you jump out of your chair,
Yeah, you for jump scares.
Yeah. Did you remember that scene, Ray? I mean, we have a couple of those scenes, but just the first one.
I expect that because I was surrounded by guys at university, we were all trying to be tough, so we wouldn't have reacted to it, or we would have laughed at it. But I'm pretty sure that I was shocked the first time I saw it.
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong, I did not jump or anything. It was just shock, especially with
when you
someone that doesn't like
when you suppress something like that, usually your sphincters tighten up.
There you go. Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Going back to the chopper.
Going back to the chopper. I'm going to start with Gio, only because I am very fascinated with the fact that he watched this movie so young. If obviously the entire movie was shockingly horrific for someone so small, but if you can recall one scene or one moment in this movie that would be on top of any other moment that you can recall as being something very impressionable in your brain when you watch this movie so early, what would that scene be?
I think when they kill Poncho, and then what was his name? The guy that goes behind after the predator, saying, "I'm gonna have me some fun."
That was hold on a second. That Blaine,
Yes, yes.
Jesse Ventura.
No, it wasn't Jesse Ventura. Let me tell you right now.
Jesse Ventura took a plasma blast to the back and it blew out his chest.
Yep.
He wasn't going anywhere at that point.
I think that it was when they killed Jesse Ventura.
Oh, okay. Was it Mac? Maybe.
Yes, Mac.
He's a great actor.
When Mac chases after him, I was like, "Oh no!" And then he's by himself running to the fucking jungle, and then he's alone, and I'm like, "Oh shit, this is it." So I was just like dreading every fucking second. Then we find him alive, looking at him, and I was like, "Oh shit, he became one with the jungle." But it didn't last seconds after. I was like, "No." When you see the two dots, I was like, "Oh no!" But like I was just dreading every second of it.
Oh wow.
And then you look at him looking upwards like this.
Oh yeah. Ray, for you, what would that moment be for you? And I'm talking about the very first time that you saw it.
You should try this. Make a goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus.
I love that scene.
They are so busy being testosterone infused hunks of meat.
Hey,
They
big
get
pussy,
taken
big
down.
pussy.
They get taken down so many pegs by the alien.
Oh
Jesus.
wow.
No, it was very well. Being a writer, it was very well written. I was reading in the wiki page about how originally it was just the MC versus the alien. They thought, no, we got to up the stakes here. So we'll start out making it look like a close knit group of guys who are working together. We'll stick an outsider in so there's a bit of tension, and then it'll all go tits up with the whole, well, we're a rescue team, but you sent us in here to stop an invasion. So we're pissed with you. And then they threw in a captive who was a woman, so that these manly men were treating her differently because she's a woman specifically. But they're still sort of dragging her around the forest. And then basically the picking off of the teammates to leave the MC as the last one left there. It's one of those sort of nightmare fuel scenarios where there's nothing you can do. Like, it's going to hunt everyone down and you want to stop it, but you can't. And the slow coming to the realization, like what's the character's name? Dylan,
the woman.
Dylan, the outsider, the CIA guy.
Oh yeah, Dylan,
who's insisting that it's just a couple of guys who are chasing them, and like Billy's like, no man, this thing ain't human. And it's that whole antagonism thing between really butch guys and the fact that they're almost powerless against this thing, and how they're dealing with it, and how they know they're going to die, but they're gonna fight until the very last breath anyway, because that's what they do. It really sort of it drags you in and grabs you by the heart, and you're sort of like, oh shit, you're gonna die, man. You could really feel for some of these guys because they're not bad people. I mean, sure, they kill people because they're soldiers, but they're really not bad people. They're going in there to rescue some guys who they believe are being mistreated, but they're being used and disposed of by their government, which is a shitty thing to do, but it's what governments tend to do. But but like Dutch frees the captive woman and tells her to get to the Jabba, which is like somebody needs to get away. You're not able to fight this thing, so get away while we slow it down, kind of thing. So they're decent people, and they're trying to do the right thing, and they're trying to deal with something that's completely unknown to them. And you really feel for them. You really especially like Billy. He just threw his life away to slow the thing down so that the other guys could get away. That's what he just decided to do.
To me, it sucked that he didn't even get to fight it. Really.
Oh, he
just
died off screen with that. That was
yeah. Like it would have been cool if at least a couple of thugs and throws before dying. Give it a little bit of honor to his death, but no, he just died like bait on a hook.
The Predator was just slaughtering them. It was just like working out. The Predator was just working out. It was only when Dutch started hurting him that the Predator accepted him as a worthy adversary, and then took off the technology to do the old man to alien.
Pure luck is what made him a worthy adversary.
In a way, yes.
Because technically, this guy is, what's the term? Meatheads, and I'm not using that in a bad term. They're soldiers. They're strong. They are the best of the best in what they do, based on what we know from the beginning of the movie. I'm sorry?
Jarheads?
No, just I want to say meathead, but it just sounds so negative, and I don't mean it in a negative way. So what I'm saying is that, they're not known for their scientific accomplishments, although I'm not saying they were dumb, because they were not.
But they're known for their mastery of warfare.
Exactly. They're the best of the best in what they do.
It's what I told you. To me, that's a primal language of humans is warfare, And if you think about it, it's like you could even think of like maybe he was Predator's best friend. Because for Predator that was an entertainment. And who knows, when you look at the psychology behind it, maybe that was his way of communication. So he was having a fun interaction or a very long-lasting interaction with this specific person, which was Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. There's two things that I can recall from this movie that that I think helped the story in two separate different ways. The first one is very short. It's Billy. So we kind of know that Billy is not afraid of anything. And we kind of know this from comments that are made throughout the movie. We know these guys have been at wars together. So this is a knowledge that has probably come from that interaction on previous engagements when they were at war. And I think they're using Billy's comment where he says, "I am afraid," to let the audience know, holy shit, thing is real now. So that's one of the get to the chopper. That I think I look at that as a tool of the film to show the audience, this is something that is outside of their experience. This is something that is outside their expertise, and they're going to have to, I want to say, MacGyver the crap out of this to try to get out alive, but in their own specific way. And the second one, and we could talk about these two things together. The second one is mostly an entertainment tool to help the audience enjoy the film. On the very few horror movies that I do like, and you guys let me know if this is experience that you have shared. And the very few with which the list is not very long of horror movies that I like. One of the things that I really enjoy, it's the the guessing game. And let me explain. Guessing who's going to drop first, who's going to die next,
The guy with
and
the
who's going to
glasses.
die last. And I think this tool of a horror movie was used perfectly in this film. You know, granted, the movie was released in 1987, so by now we all know the story. But if you go back to the very first time that you saw this film, if you like horror movies, I think you could appreciate this. I mean, this is something that we see in films like the Final Destination line, where, you know, or Scream, the entire series.
What's
So,
that?
so you guys let me know, out of those two things that I mentioned, you know, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, or what is your comment on that?
Well, this was sort of a cross-genre movie. It crossed action and adventure, sci-fi, and horror. So it had a bit of something for everybody, almost. I mean, there was no romance really, but the romance people wouldn't rock up to something called Predator. It's
No,
got the completely wrong message.
Predator was in love with Dutch.
Really? So this was a whole courtship thing. He was looking for.
Yeah, that's how they do it on their planet before they get married.
Right. Well, it's a very common trope in manga and anime where, you know, if you've got a tough woman, it's got to be somebody who can beat her that she's going to marry. So I guess it kind of works.
He just didn't expect the Dutch was going to, you know, kill them. So, you know, that was a miscalculation on the Predator's part.
Well, you're still laughing at the very end. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a lot of different things for different people. I mean, the start of it is so butch and manly, and I think there would have been a few women cringing at some of the lines, especially those jokes. But if you can put that aside for a moment, and you know, back in the late 80s, people did put those sorts of things aside. It was just something you had to deal with. But now people will be up in arms and leaving the theater if you saw things like that these days. But I mean, yeah, it had a lot of different things for different like cross-genre movie that provided a lot of interest in different ways for different people. But yeah, that whole who's going to die next thing, which is common in horror, was definitely sewn into the weave of this movie. And I really feel like it was just another one of those things where, especially when I saw it the first time, we were sitting in sort of like, well, they weren't lazy chairs, but they were sort of like low down padded chairs. So we were sort of relaxing in front of this thing, drinking and chatting while we were watching it. And yeah, we were trying to guess who was going to die next. There was the guy who brought it along had seen it before and wanted us all to see it. So he knew roughly, if he could remember, if he wasn't too drunk the first time he saw it, the order in which people went down. But yeah, there was definitely a sort of I reckon this guy's going to go first. No, it's going to be this guy. You know, sort of trying to work out who the order in which they were going to die, because they're all going to die. Yep, you are.
Especially when Mac went alone by himself. You would think, he was going to be next.
I'm having some fun.
And he wasn't. So it's just like, you know, I think they play around with that very well.
No, Mac did die.
No, he did. He did die.
You don't say.
But he didn't die.
Well, Mac ran off after it, and Dylan chased him, and Mac died from a headshot from the shoulder cannon, and then Dylan had his arm blown off and was gutted. So I think he was the one that died next.
He got forked.
Huh?
Yeah,
he got forked. Oh, yeah. What do you think about those two things that I mentioned? What is your thought?
To me, this movie was horror and gore, and then throughout the years, it became entertaining. So my perception
definitely had gore.
I mean, from a little kid watching this to an adult that doesn't see the horror in all the gush and blood, it kind of
Yeah.
evolved into something
You
friendly.
mean you became blasé about all the violence because you watched the news for enough years.
Yep, pretty much. After those ISIS videos became viral with the guys getting decapitated with chainsaws, I was like, okay, this is soft.
Yeah, that was horrible. Um, so yeah, this got dark real fast.
Yeah.
Get to the
Off
chopper!
the cliff.
Get to the chopper! Yeah, so
Bringing
like
it back.
real life news kind of make this movie a comedy and soft.
Oh, Jesus.
Reason why I don't watch news.
Yeah, I stopped watching news.
Yeah. So, I guess I should ask the
You
different
guys,
way
you see
to you.
YouTube, they see Robert's constipation face.
Yeah, it's. I should ask it in a different way for Gio. So yeah, watching it as an adult, it based on what I just said, what was your experience? You know, the two methods that they use for this film, and I'm assuming you will have watched a lot more sci-fi. I mean, a lot more horror movies that I have ever watched. So you have probably a lot more experience
Actually,
than I have.
not. I don't have watched more horror movies than you.
You don't like horror movies, or
It's not that I dislike it, and they never drag me. You know,
oh,
so
okay.
like I never found myself looking for horror movies unless I were in a group and they want to watch something. You know,
Okay.
and I mean this movie, I don't think I watched it more than 3 or 4 times.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. Sci-fi horror, I'm right there. Event Horizon. What was that game series that they made a movie about? I can't think of the name of it now. But there's a game series where they had these things that used to replace people's heads, this alien bug things. And you had to fight them.
Half life.
Yes, Half-Life.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
god, that shit! I played it. I killed my guy. It made me shit my pants. There's a scene. There's a scene that they're behind
I'm
the glass.
thinking I'm thinking Dead Space.
Dead Space is
Dead
way
Space,
after.
okay.
Yeah.
Dead Space is way
Yeah.
after. But if you play Half-Life, Half-Life is old and it's made by Valve, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah,
there's a
I know
scene-
Half-Life.
You're like
But the
behind
one I'm
the
thinking about
glass.
is Dead Space because
Space?
they
Oh,
made
okay.
a movie about Dead Space.
Oh yeah. I played Dead Space long after it was old, and it still shit my pants when the little like baby monsters come crawling. Like, oh my god, bro!
Yeah.
They made that game to make you jump off your seat.
For sure. But basically, what I'm getting at is that if there's sci-fi in the horror, I'm right there. If it's just straight up horror, it's got to have an engaging story. Like I'm not into splatter movies. Like I just don't want to watch people chopped up and that sort of thing. But you know, if there's a story and people are struggling, there's a chance that they can get away from whatever the thing is. Then I'm interested because you know there's a human factor. There's just not gore. I mean, if I just want gore, I'll just watch the news.
I think I feel the same way because, like for example, I have a fascination for Resident Evil. I believe I played every single game there was. The movies, I seen every movie, and if you think about it, that is.
Oh, you watch the movies because of Mila. That's why you watch the movies.
But you know, it's interesting to me because I believe I'm just like you because I don't like horror. There's obviously a few exceptions. Like I have seen Scream, I have seen Final Destination.
See, I haven't really gotten into either of those.
Yeah, I've seen those. And I have to admit they were good. But you know, those are exceptions. There's always exceptions in everything.
Did you watch I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Mm-hmm. I did. I watched that one. So I find it interesting. Aside from those few exceptions, because there always will be there.
Texas Massacre. Oh, bro, that one is like, oh my god, you won't be able to watch that one.
So, but if you look at, for example, Resident Evil, the first movie with Mila, that was a grindhouse. You know,
sure.
let's pick one scene out of the many when they're inside
The
that
laser corridor.
the laser
Oh my
corridor.
God.
That was very shocking to me. But I enjoyed that movie because it was sci-fi horror. I enjoy Alien. I enjoy Aliens. I like Annihilation, although I'm not too pleased with the movie, although I read the book. Prometheus, I liked the movie, although a lot of people hated it. Pitch Black,
Pitch
you
Black is
know,
awesome.
uh, those are all horror sci-fi, and I enjoy every single one of them. And I find it really interesting that if you take away the sci-fi from it, I would not be likely to watch. So, and you're probably completely different to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So, if you and I don't know if we should move on to this, our final question of if you guys have anything else to say. I was going to ask and probably start with Gio. And this is not isolated to the very first experience, the very first time that you saw this movie, but basically a collection of every single time you saw it from the very first time to the very last time that you watched this movie. What is that one thing that you can say about this movie? This final thing that you can say about this movie?
You're not gonna ask first thought and then last thought?
No, I like to switch it up, you know, and keep you in your toes. I like to keep you in your toes, Captain Chaos.
I have no toes, man. What you gonna do about it?
He had them chainsawed off at one point.
I'm like
Yeah.
armless, legless thing, like a turd in the wind. You feel me? What can I tell you, man? I mean, I think that the movie, even though it's horror, it's full of comical, catchy phrases.
Yes.
You know, so as a younger kid, I didn't get to see all of that. All that I got, and I rewatch it, it just was a mad lot of fun watching it. I mean, as a kid, it's hard for you to see people brutally dying as something fun. But as an adult, if dogs or babies are not involved, it's just fun. So, I
Awesome.
mean, this is a very enjoyable movie. And I think this is a movie that is great to enjoy with friends too over a drink.
Oh, this is
Yep.
yeah,
It's
Definitely.
lots of
definitely
laughter. Love
with a
of
couple of
laughter.
beers.
Oh, yeah. Lots of laughter. The more beers, the more laughter. And I mean, I think it's a movie that is paramount to the horror filmmaking. I think that it's a must watch, just like most of the good movies that we have covered. That I think that they have had big influence in what genres have become today too.
Yeah. And I guess we should go to Ray.
Well, I look at the poster of this movie and it doesn't impress me one bit. It doesn't say sci-fi to me much at all. So
You gotta make your non-impressed meme face.
Well, you know, I think I know where he's coming from. It to me it says action.
Yeah, it just looked like a war movie, and I wasn't into that at the time, so I just didn't go anywhere near it. And that's probably why I didn't see it at the cinema, because it didn't look like the poster didn't represent the movie particularly. A lot of posters are great; they really pull the vibe of the movie, but this poster, and even the cover of the video in the video store didn't do anything for me. I looked at it and went, "Nah, that doesn't pull me in," and I think that was a bit of a failing. Because it took being recommended to me by somebody else and them being all hyped about it to actually watch it. So I didn't get into it when it was current, but I got into it a little bit later on VCR. But the thing that I thought, to balance up the balance sheet a little bit, the music of this movie is just spot on. The sort of the It really draws you in. And again, last night when I was watching it, it was just really drawing me in, and it really sort of hyped you up. It's one of those soundtracks that puts you on edge, and it's perfect for this movie. So yeah, it sort of had the advertising wasn't great, but the soundtrack is fantastic, and it really fits the vibe of the movie. Okay.
A bunch of honka musaka in the jungle.
Okay.
Well, that is Captain Chaos' job, is to derail us. So
Yeah.
Good job, man.
I'm completely lost now. What the hell was that?
You were talking about how introspective the music is, which actually I think is a good point. It's true. It's true.
I mean, I've gone to the point of creating playlists of movie music, especially things like I know a lot of people didn't like Alien Resurrection as a movie, and it had some very dodgy choices throughout the movie. But overall, I really like that movie, and the soundtrack of it is just fantastic. Whenever I want to write sci-fi horror, because I do a bit of writing of sci-fi horror here and there, I listen to that soundtrack because it is, to me, a sci-fi horror soundtrack. It's just so right. It's just so evocative, and again, the soundtrack of this movie is so evocative. It's the hunter and the hunted, sort of like you're being hunted. I don't care how good you are with guns, how much ammo you have, you're being hunted. Kind of.
Robert, and you can do this. I don't, because I don't have a wife. Or you just gotta piss off your wife and start running away from her. You're gonna feel like the hunted.
I don't think that actually works for me. So.
Your wife, man, you know what they say, the quiet ones are the dangerous ones. Your wife, I don't want to see her pissed off.
Slow to anger, but when angry,
yeah, you got a point there. You do got a point.
Yeah, her sister, which is my mother, has a story that she actually was being bitten by her, and she was like, "Your daughter is biting me." So that woman bites. Well, when she was a kid, no, that's between you and the four walls in the bedroom. You said before that you like to get put in your place and stuff like that.
I think I remember the story.
Go to the chopper.
Yeah, I will be getting to the chopper real fast.
Out of there.
Okay, so after we finally were successful in derailing Ray, let's see if he still remember what he was going to say.
I'm done. That was basically it. Comparing the average advertising versus the fantastic soundtrack. So,
but I like what Ray was saying about the soundtracks. I like doing that when I want to get on the mood, and I mean that's something that I caught myself watching this movie that got effect on me. It was the soundtracks, for sure. Like it gets you into like whenever they're in a fighting mode or something, or in a pursuit, and they put the soundtracks. Like it just drags you into, like it robs you into the movie, and
it pushes your heart rate up too. You get tense.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What kind of movie are you talking about, Gio?
Orusukidoji. Listeners, go and stop right now and go and check Orusukidoji online.
Oh no, don't! Oh my God, don't!
Do not Google that.
We rated R.
That goes beyond rated R, X, XXX. It goes beyond
non-safe for
everything.
work. I'll advise you, non-safe for work. Don't do it on your workplace. You don't want the IT to ask you what were you doing searching for that on a computer at work. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, Ray, I think we're ready for the segue into the next segment.
Let's get out of here. Get to the chopper.
Run.
Get to the chopper. So the next segment.
The science in sci-fi.
Captain Chaos is on point today.
I'm telling you.
He's been saving this up, man.
Yeah.
This is what happens when I'm sober, man.
Get drunk, get stoned, get something, get laid. I don't know, just get something.
Oh wow.
I think it's my destiny.
Freaking dangerous.
I've discovered dying alone.
Mm.
No.
Look, I have a hot take on this movie, and it is the Predator was a pussy. It used adaptive camouflage and plasma weapons, and basically was slaughtering people for fun, like humans.
Yep.
If it wanted to be a real predator, it should have ditched all that stuff in the beginning and relied on its own physical abilities and matched abilities against abilities, but it didn't. It used its advanced technology to just slaughter a whole bunch of peeps until it came up against Dutch and realized that he was a worthy challenger. But that's my hot take on the Predator. I'm sure I'll get some abuse when this comes out.
Well, you kind of have a point there, and I have to agree.
Yeah.
What do you think, Gio? I mean, we were talking about predators.
I agree. I agree. Robert was saying that we are apex, and I was telling him that we are not, for the same reason that you just point out, because our intellect and our use of tools puts us ahead of some other species. But if we go hand in hand like an apex predator goes, like a bear or like a falcon, we're not apex predator. We cannot go hand in hand and fight anything else. We'll be just a lamb, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're not functionally an apex predator because we don't have the physical abilities to act like an apex predator without enhancements, but we have the intellect to create those enhancements, and that's when we raise ourselves into the position of an apex predator. And given that that humanity is a virus across the world, it's just basically, there's billions of us, there's no other creature on the planet. Well, I mean, there's more bacteria than us, there's more ants than us, there's more of very, very small creatures than us. But anything
Don't say it
that's
too loud. We don't want them to know and then take cover.
anything that's a complex organism, very, very rarely can outnumber us as a species. So of the advanced creatures, we are the most numerous, and we just keep reproducing. So
Yeah.
there's too many humans on this planet. It's just how it is. But I mean, yeah, we are apex in certain columns, but certainly not in the base stats column, I guess is what the answer to that is. So Gio is right in a fashion.
Yeah.
But looking at the Predator, the pussy that was hiding behind his technology, the one that really stands out is the camouflage suit that he was using. And I think if this was something that was really happening, it speaks well of humanity that we can adapt so well to something hunting us and be able to calm down and spot something that's camouflaged in such a way. That's how I sort of felt with the guys who were calming down and not just shooting up the jungle and watching for it and spotting it. I mean, they may not have had the ability to keep track of it, but they were still spotting it. So it wasn't perfect camouflage. But I pulled up an article, so I'm actually not Wikipedia this week. I'm actually referring to a proper article. Research progress of bionic adaptive camouflage materials. This article is part of a research topic, 2021 retrospective, smart materials. So we're in 2023, so it's a little bit old, but it is considered quite recent.
Do they have pictures that you can share?
No, actually, there's a couple of figures, but it's more sort of in the introduction section where they're talking about real life animals that have adaptive camouflages.
Okay.
Talking about cephalopods, that is squid and
squid
and octopi. and chameleons and how
Yep.
quickly their skin colors can change. And then talking about traditional 4-color camouflages, which is what military currently uses in widespread use. But then looking at what nature can do, and then us attempting to mimic that. The diffraction mechanism of photonic crystals. There's some big words. I mean, this article is pages and pages long, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I just want to sort of give you an overview. But they're talking about thermal and photosensitive fibers, electrochemical dyes, dynamic optical camouflage, smart camouflage materials. So under smart camouflage materials, the existence of camouflage coating is passive. They can only achieve the effect of anti-reconnaissance in a static state. When there is wind, the enemy can easily find a leaf or a brush still in the swaying grass, causing to find a camouflage target through subtle differences, which is basically how the soldiers in this movie were seeing the predator. The fact that the mimicry wasn't perfect, and through training and practice, be it very short term, they were actually being able to spot it when they, calmed down and looked really, really carefully. I mean, Billy felt that the thing was out there. He knew that there was something out there, but he couldn't easily spot it. So he was sort of using almost a sixth sense in a way. But with these smart camouflage materials, active camouflage technology has received massive attention. The US Army has developed an electrochromatic film that can be pasted or painted on camouflage uniforms. Meanwhile, this electronic film can be connected to micro smart processing and environmental sensor systems. During the wind, the system can change the graphic patterns on the film to achieve a swinging visual effect similar to the background and achieve the camouflage. So basically, you're looking at well, originally these things were like you'd have a camera on one side and a display system on the other side, and you'd be just displaying what's happening in the background. So that would be the sort of active version of the camouflage. This was from another paper that I was reading. But this is more, now in 2023, we've got all these tiny, tiny little digital systems which can pick up light changes and things like that. So these systems are getting more and more compact and more reactive, so that I would say in the next 20 years, we would see some sort of active thermo-optic camouflage being developed, where you'd have a suit which has a system of tiny little sensors that can pick up what's happening and then transfer that image to the other side of the camouflage, where it's reacting in real time and showing what is on the other side of the thing that you're camouflaging. And that's basically happening 360 degrees. So you would have a suit which you can put on, which basically shows the viewer what's happening on the other side of you. And you would then end up completely camouflaged. Now, it wouldn't be perfect, because if you're moving quickly, it would probably be a little bit of a lag for it to catch up. But if you're standing still, you'd be functionally unspottable. So I can see that happening in the next 20 years. They're working on it. They sure are working on it, because if you could create something like that, and, especially for special ops and forward observers and things like that, it would be invaluable to be able to get in there and get information without being spotted. I don't know that it'd ever be put out to the entire fighting force, but certainly spec ops and forward spotters and people that need to not get spotted easily, it would be a massive advantage. So I could see the US Army probably being the ones that would be getting hold of this stuff first.
Yeah. I always wonder about that too, especially when it comes to, I think I read a while back when they're experimenting with redirecting light, which is theory, because there's no real functional experiment on that, because, we don't have that technology yet. But I was also thinking, even at that aspect of the technology, which I think would be, we're still far away from this. Even what you just said applies, because if you standing still, it would be perfect. But if you are, if you move, you could see something. And I think this is partly how we are detecting black holes right now, by watching what that light that is redirecting around them. So I find that really, really interesting. You sent me a link. Okay, I got it. Yeah, perfect.
That's the link to the article. So it's in Frontiers and Materials is the website, and it's from 2020. Oh, sorry, 2021. So it's reasonably recent. There was a lot of stuff around 2006 to 2012 in this sort of vein that I was looking into, but I was trying to find something that was newer. So I went with this one. But yeah, it's something that they're working on it. They haven't got there yet, but they're working on it. So
Awesome.
and this is actually a Chinese paper that's been translated. So I won't attempt to pronounce the names of the authors. Dan Yan is the only one that I could probably pronounce accurately. The rest of them I'd probably screw up. But yeah, Robert, I'll get you to put that link into the show notes for the watchers, so they can go and have a read of the whole paper if they're interested in this sort of thing.
Awesome. I want to briefly talk about thermal imaging, just because of, there's something that really called my attention in this movie. When you look at the wavelengths of light, measure in what is it, nanometers?
Yeah.
No, it's by washing machines.
Wow, that'd be big wavelengths.
Yeah, that would be big. So
No, in this movie, it's by choppers.
By choppers. So if we look at
2.71 choppers. Is that a Chinook or a...
Get to the chopper. So if we look at the diagram, what we could see goes anywhere from 400 to 700 nanometers in the light spectrum, which is a visible light. The infrared, which I wonder, the infrared is actually to the right of that chart. So anything higher than 700 nanometers goes into the infrared spectrum. And I was reading something, an article very interesting from NASA Science. It's the science portion of the NASA.gov website that talks very, very briefly about thermal imaging. But I believe the article makes it very, very interesting in the way they word it. So the article says, we can sense some infrared energy as heat. So we do see some of that. Some objects are so hot, they also emit visible light within the infrared spectrum. And this is kind of like what Ray was talking about earlier when it comes to fire. Fire under the infrared camera would look completely white. So a fire would be something within that infrared spectrum that we could see. However, other objects, such as humans, are not as hot and only emit infrared waves. Our eyes cannot see these infrared waves, but instruments that can sense infrared energy, such as night vision goggles and infrared cameras, allow us to see the infrared wave emitting from warm objects such as humans or animals. So that is, I find that really interesting. If you're, about the thermal and thermal imaging systems that they use. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that because I found that interesting.
I got one last one, which is a more sort of fun one to finish up on.
Okay.
I don't know how well this is going to work. It's you can check this out. I've also given the link to Robert, so you can put it in the show notes. But there's a YouTube channel called Engineering After Hours, and he basically created a head tracking Nerf gun shoulder mount, aka Predator shoulder weapon, using a Nerf gun, and adaptive software which tracks people's heads, so he can do headshots with the Nerf gun. He's got a very small hand remote, but the thing automatically tracks them, and then he just presses the button to fire the Nerf bullet at the person's head. And I won't play the video because it's 11 minutes long, but and would also probably get pooted off YouTube for infringement. But basically, he teaches it how to track his cat, so that it automatically shoots at his cat.
Poor kitty.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I recommend everybody go and have a look at that after listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube. Check that one out. It's Engineering After Hours, but you'll find the link in the description of the YouTube video or in the show notes for the podcast. And you too can check out how Engineering After Hours created his own Predator shoulder-mounted weapon system that automatically tracks heads and cats.
Yeah, I will definitely put that in the show notes so you can actually watch this whenever you can. Awesome. So this is it for this show. Again, I really, really thank everyone for coming week after week and listening to our show. We really, really appreciate your being here with us, enjoying our conversation, and your engagement. Just remember, reach out to us. Let's talk about Predator. Let's talk about most of the topics that we talked about here. If you have any scientific comments that we have not mentioned, you can bring it up and let's start a conversation. You can join us on Twitter. You can join us on Discord. You can also call our hotline and we can play it on the next episodes.
And don't forget, get to the chopper.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper! That's the one.
Awesome. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and we hope to see you next time.